I'm a psychologist, and today I'm going to teach you how to cope with loving someone who doesn't love you back. In order to do this, I'm going to have to make an assumption, which is that you were previously in a relationship with this person, and for one reason or another, you have fallen out of love. And now you are making frantic efforts to try and get them back, or perhaps you're questioning your entire existence and whether the relationship was really worth it in the end, or whether it was love in the first place. So, in order to treat this, is a pretty tough case actually. If I got something like this for real, it's actually a pretty tough case. So, what I would ask the person first of all is, why are you trying to get them back? If they've demonstrated a behavior of leaving you, what's stopping them from doing that a second time? Think about that. Why would you want to love someone that has demonstrated the capacity to abandoning you when you fall out of love? So, in many ways, if you're trying to get something back or get them back, are you really just trying to get back dynamite or some sort of explosion at the end? Perhaps further to the point then is, if you've asked yourself why you're trying to get them back, even in spite of them having left, I would also ask, what are you trying to get back in your life? What are you missing? What is it that they gave you that can't be found elsewhere, much like perhaps they are doing the same to you? Perhaps you're thinking, no one will ever love me like they did. And if you believe that, then I would ask then, well, have you tried everyone? Have you tried to discover whether no one else can love you like they did? You see, I think the interesting thing about this sort of presenting issue is that if you can love someone, or if you can attract someone initially, like you did with this person, what's stopping you from being able to do it a second time? Really? If you can actually get yourself into a relationship with someone, then those skills that you developed and they haven't just disappeared. You've just perhaps forgotten where they are. A lot of coping with this dilemma is coming to terms with the idea that you actually can cope without their love, because ultimately love is something that can be redistributed to a new person and also received from a new person. I think a lot of it comes down to rediscovering who you are without that person. And this can be especially challenging if you've been with this person for a long time, many months. Actually, that's not a long time, so many years or even a decade. Your identity and who you are has become so strongly fused with them that anything else is foreign and brand new. But unless you got into a relationship with this person as a very young person, then it's very likely that you've actually developed quite a lengthy identity without them present, and now it's really just a matter of rediscovering it. Another big part of all of it is asking yourself, basically, did they ever love me? Or at what point did they fall out of love with me? Or if only I had knew so I could have prevented it. And it's called the hindsight bias. It's easier to look back and analyze the past than it is to analyze the present with the same level of detail, because you're experiencing the present in real time and you need to react in real time, even if the reaction isn't the ideal one. But when you're retrospectively analyzing the past, you have infinite amounts of time to do that, and you can change and distort meanings very easily because you have all the time in the world to ruminate about events that have already happened, but very little time to react to events that are literally happening. In fact, you've only got a couple of seconds, which is harder to plan for that. And that's why a lot of the hindsight bias is really key, and seeing it that way is super important. If a person is questioning, was it real love? Did they ever actually love me? And all that sort of stuff. Well, I think the answer to that is you can never really truly know what they were thinking. You don't have a direct port or a direct tunnel into their mind. So the best you can do is guess, and more likely than not, you'll probably guess negatively as a way to perhaps cope with the devastation to the self-esteem But yet one must remember that you can never truly know what a person's thinking. And more likely than not, if they had spent many decades with you, then it's very likely that actually they did love you at some points. And for one reason or another, the love might have fallen apart or fallen out of love. It's very important to detach that from a person's self-worth and self-esteem and identity and their ability to be loved moving forward. Because if you are able to be loved initially, then you can be loved again. And even if you haven't been loved initially, humans have love built into them through oxytocin and vasopressin and a few other chemicals. So that means that universally every human is capable of both loving and being loved. It's just a matter of discovering it. It's a hidden ability, which for a lot of people probably is. So once again, I would draw your attention back to the key question of what are you searching for in them? What are you trying to get back? Do you know what you're trying to get back? It's very likely that the person's trying to get back is that feeling of someone loves me, someone deeply cares about me, at least from my perception. And ideally, it's that person because I've developed so much attachment to them. That's more likely than not one of the key ideas that a person is trying to contend with. Now, once again, I would ask, perhaps what then is required is a hard truth. And a hard truth is if they loved you, they would have stayed. Maybe some people don't like the hard truth, but perhaps some people will resonate with that and they will see it as, So in many ways, what you're trying to claw back is not something that you love, but it's just the idolization or the imagined love that you got from them initially. You're not actually getting true love. You're just getting back you're just wanting the idea of them or that idea of the relationship. You want to bring them back to how things were because how things were amazing. And why did things have to change? But the nature of human beings is to change. And perhaps if you don't change together, then actually you should consider it through the lens of you're actually changing for the better. Perhaps a person also might be questioning whether they did enough in the relationship. If it fell out of love, then maybe if I just had done this better, I could have done this, could have, would have, should have. Once again, the hindsight bias. It's very easy to analyze situations from the past because you don't have to react in real time. The important thing to consider with that one is a relationship takes two to tango, and there's actually a whole raft of other things to consider within that. So the idea of assigning responsibility and blame for the disillusion of the relationship to the self, so just to excessively self-blame is, well, what use does that do? Ultimately, it just keeps the person trapped in a self-perpetuating cycle of negativity, right? So ultimately, the self-blame might act as a way to resolve any internal turmoil, but in many ways, it also just adds fuel to the fire of the guilt and the self-blame and the could-have, would-have, should-have mechanisms. So you have to take a step back and really ask yourself, the infinite loop that I'm engaging in my mind of self-blame, is that really worth it? Is that actually allowing me to move forward and process? Because ultimately that's what you want. That's what a person would want, to actually be able to take this moment as a chapter in your life, close the chapter and open up the new one. And in doing that, one must imagine all of the invisible tethers that are holding them back from moving them forward and then start to cut them. If I was to bring this video to a conclusion, much like I would with a patient, I would summarize as follows. The human capacity to love and be loved is ultimately forever. It might feel like it's going to come and go, and it quite literally will, but you just need to analyze which parts have gone, where have they gone, and where do you need to go to get them back? Or in other words, the person has the ability to be re-loved and to find a new relationship, but they must first find where that ability is gone. More likely than not, it's gone to the old relationship, the past. Because in many ways, if we could change the past, I'm sure everybody would. But then would you really learn the lessons that you needed to in order to become the person that you really want to be?